tēnā tātou e te whānau tuatahi tēnei tuhi atu kia koutou. Ngā kai arahi i haramai hei whakamanatia tēnei reo. Te reo a ngā tauira katoa. Tēnā atu kia pūrua mā. Tō mā tēnei kai Poutu, tēnei tuhi atu kia koutou. Moto tō koutou tino tūturu me te whakapono ki tēnei āputanga me tēnei tātou katoa tēnei te whakamoa. E rui tēnā tēnei tuhi atu ki koutou. Pika mai ki kia mātou nei te tēpu. Ngā mihi mai mā ki Poutu katoa. Kia ora everybody. My name is Jacqui and Poutu. I am a student just like you are. I am not an MP, so I don't have to hold my tongue. And I am here on behalf of the Māori Party, Minister Sharples, Minister Turia and Tūrero Flavos in their aroha. And because there's only 3 of them, they get pulled away to work all over the place every weekend. Papa P's actually in Sydney this weekend. Whaiatari, once she goes back to Wanganui, she's not leaving Wanganui. And Tūrero Flavos doing some cool stuff up in his electorate, and he's actually at the United Future Riato, their AGM this morning, to start talking to them about holding up on this RMA, Resource Management Act kaupapa that's going through at the moment, so everybody's got to try and check in with each other and make sure you're still on the horse, because if you fall off the horse, obviously dangerous things happen and it all gets passed. And I'd like to take an interest in my colleagues here today. I'm not an MP, and this is the first time I've had to sit on a table with mandated representatives for this country, and I think that it's quite a privilege, let's say, until we start talking about the Treaty of Waitangi, obviously. So I'm happy to be here, and obviously I feel at home because I'm at home with NZUSA. Obviously I'm at home with Te Mana Ākonga. Te Mana Ākonga is me, and I am Te Mana Ākonga. So let's get into it. I'm not going to speak at you because I know what your issues are. I know that it's hard to be a student. I know that it's hard to get a job unless you want to have a Bachelor of Arts and still be a waitress. We want you to be able to go off and do the things that you're doing in your craft that you've been trained. Far too often we're seeing students come in, they've got a degree in this and a degree in that, but they're still a waitress because there's nothing else around. So a few years ago we've had a lot of law students, in particular Māori law students, that have come through, and in the onset of the recession there was no law jobs around, so a lot of them ended up going overseas. And that's a massive, massive problem for our people as Maori. It's about equality of life, I think, and I myself, the way that I was raised, I'm not one to tell someone how they should be raising their whānau. I'm not one to tell someone how they should be putting kai on their table for their babies, but I want to be able to make sure that those opportunities are there. When it comes to tertiary education, what we're looking at actually is equal outcomes, not equal opportunities. For far so often, like we've had for years and years and years, we've had this thing about governments, and then they're about, oh, everybody should have an equal opportunity to get a job, everyone should have an equal opportunity to go and do this and go and do that inside of the community. But actually for our people, it's not about that now. We're stepping it up this time. It is about equal outcomes. Everybody is on par with everyone else. The tertiary education strategy is closing next week, and Minister Turia is the Associate Minister for Tertiary Education, but it's really weird because the role, the name you have for your role, doesn't actually serve the function half the time, so her commitment is inside the employment aspect of tertiary education, and then Joyce has the tertiary aspect of that. So all of your fellows hara and raru needs to go to the tertiary university, but know that if you give that hara to my boss, Whaiatari, then she'll go in and back for you. We've been seeing so much where you lose your voice. Māori are used to having nothing but their voice. So we've got no money, we've lost our whenua, lost our land, and all we have at the end of the day is your voice. The same thing applies in Parliament. You don't have a lot of resources, you just have your will. So it's really, really important for you guys to be the next conscious, like you're critical and essential to representation in this country. And it needs to have, we need to have more of an informed dialogue. So what do I hear about the Māori Party? I hear that the Māori Party are eating crumbs off the table for national. But actually, you talk to me, that's my table. That was always my people's table. It's taken us 173 years to get that table back. We're sitting at that table, happy to chop off 2 legs and give him the other side, and then we keep that tepu for our babies. Our people were born in opposition by decision makers because the system isn't set up to support Māori values, culture, customs. And I think with the Māori Party in the future, it is about making sure that there's equal outcomes for our people, and what's good for Māori is good for the nation. No different at university. A lot of the time you see Māori boards that are only writing reports for consideration. They've got no teeth to them. Where's the equity in that? And then you bring it down further, and it's been reduced for a student voice to be nothing. Who here is still sitting on your council? Just Lincoln, Otago?
Yep.
Scarfi, I'm Otago. I graduated with an anatomy structural biology degree from Otago. Bang, I'm Scarfi, and actually last week Papa P went down there and he was given a Ngāti Scarfi t-shirt from Te Rupu Māori, which he wore proudly. He wanted to wear it in the house, but then we checked the code of conduct and he'd get kicked out with wearing a Ngāti Scarfi. Yeah. But you know, it's all that sort of stuff, and putting a name to the face to your kaupapa, and not leaving it to the media to decide what you are. Hey, and you guys are you're the leaders of today and tomorrow. So it's important that you use your voice. And when it comes to ensuring that you have a voice where one is needed, obviously on governance boards, you need to be heard. They're the ones that make the decisions. Otherwise it'll be a diluted flow-on effect from someone else's perception on what matters to you. So the Māori Party will be pushing for that, making sure that you have, I don't know, you don't have to borrow to survive, borrow to live. Many students are out there ticking things up to try and survive. We just want to make sure you have a universal student allowance. We agree with NZUSA, they've been holding that kaupapa for a long, long time, and that is a function of the mana of NZUSA. And what, you know, if NZUSA and Te Mana Ākonga go, it's overs. People will start running all over you, they'll start speaking for you. It's really, really important that you guys remain a whānau. So Te Mana Ākonga and NZUSA need to stay together until the last chair is sold, right? It's a Tiriti or Waitangi partnership. Our country has come too far for people to just be ignorant about what that means. You guys know what that means. So that by the end of the day, the last chair sold from NZUSA, that's when you start looking at the Tiriti or Waitangi based parallel relationship with Te Mana Ākonga, and therefore the kaiarere from around the country. It's really good to see WITSA here today, because you can tell when WITSA's in the room because they're Māori, because you're 57%. You're 57% Māori on your campus, and that's beautiful, because we don't often see our people staircasing into higher levels of education. What's important is that you're able to do the things that you need to do, get in, bang, go and learn, go out and get a job that's in your craft, and hopefully one day you go home and you give back at home. Never mind going over to the UK, going over to Australia, giving someone else your skills, when actually you need ahika at home and people that can say, oh well, you're a hairdresser, you're a dentist, you're a chippy, you for this, come home and look after them. But too often we're having our pipeline, no one's on there, because our people aren't speaking te reo, they're not learning te reo. You still have to pay for it. So you go to tertiary education, you go to a university, you're still paying for your reo. There's something wrong with it. Right? If Māori is part of this nation's identity, those that are living in this country should have access to free te reo me ona tikanga, the same as you do for English. So I'm not sure whether it's a Joyce thing or the person before him, but to us as a people, the whole system's fucked. See, and this goes good enough for me. And it needs some fixing up, and it's going to take beyond your time and your learning and in your study to fix it. But you need to keep an eye on it so that you have some options to sort before it goes to your babies and then goes to our mokos. What we don't sort today as the leadership of today, we are actually giving to our babies to sort out because we haven't been able to do it. So it's not to say that we're not informed about what goes on with our people and the survival of Māori as a people, with the place of Māori inside of this country. And that's a wider concept around what the structure of the system looks like, the functionality of it for our people tomorrow, and the work that needs to be done. So, yeah, if you need something, just holler. But otherwise, it's been nice talking to you. It's good to be back in this type of forum. So, tēnā tini hatu ka koutou katoa. Kia ora.